Hello everybody. Christina, Gad and I were in Warsaw recently at the iPro e-learning fusion conference. We had loads of great conversations and then we thought, hang on, let's just pause a second and why don't we have this conversation on video where hopefully we can share some insights and thoughts with you guys, and then you can comment and share some thoughts and insights with us. So Christina, how was the iPro e-learning conference in Warsaw for you?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. As you know, Joe, I have Polish roots, and so it was a fantastic opportunity for me to reconnect with them. Loved the food, loved the people. Actually, really, really friendly, fantastic. And there were some really, really good sessions in the conference as well. So it was only a day, but it was action packed, I would say, as well. So yeah, just all over. And the weather was great, wasn't it, Joe?
Oh my goodness, because we spent an extra day there to go sightseeing together and we had like 25 degrees, proper summer weather. It was just stunning, wasn't it?
It was lovely, and just spending some time with you, Joe. It was great as well. We had some great conversations, and as you say, we just thought it'd be nice actually maybe to have an online one and record it, and there might be stuff that people find useful when we talk about it. So yeah.
Absolutely, and I have to say thank you again. Having a Polish speaker whilst in a land where I didn't speak any of the language at all, despite trying a little bit, as you know, it was a real godsend for me. So it was meant I could relax and enjoy rather than having to interpret and try and work things out all the time. So I definitely appreciated that.
Oh, well, I enjoyed it actually. It's a weird sensation not being raised in Poland, but obviously having that background, to feel quite comfortable on the continent in a country that I was never raised in. It's a bit of an odd feeling actually, but quite nice and surprising sometimes because I shared a few stories with you about people not expecting me to understand Polish whilst they were speaking about me. So that was always interesting. We won't share those here though. No, we won't share those.
Well, one of the things we were talking about in Poland quite a lot was your learning loop. Tell us a little bit more about that, because whilst I've seen your tweets and seen the website, I learnt more about learning loop chatting about that with you than I'd known previously. So share a little bit about that.
So, the learning loop is a way of helping people to learn better and to perform better as well. And it's aimed at learning development professionals, but it's also aimed at facilitators, it could be subject matter experts, line managers, anyone, in fact, who wants to improve their understanding of what the learning process is about and how to apply that to good performance as well. So that's it in a nutshell, really.
So is it a training course? Is it a program? Is it blended? Is it online? Is it face to face?
Yeah, it's all of those.
Oh,
It's all
brilliant.
of those.
Okay, let's move quickly on.
It's a bit of everything blended. Yeah, it is. It's a blended learning program, and so there is a 2-day face-to-face workshop in amongst it, but it's a blended program. So it starts with those participants that book on. They get a survey sent to them. And through that survey, we get to find out what they do know and what they don't know. So we don't spend lots and lots of time in that 2 days, because 2 days is it's short, but it's also a long time to be out of the business, you know. So we want to spend the most amount of time on those things which people are going to find most useful to their business and to themselves as well. So that's the first thing that happens. They also get a bit of pre-work as well, but we don't actually mention pre-work, you know, just in case it throws them into a bit of a wobble. So there might be a few videos, and what I like to do is I've created quite a few short videos on the main models that we use. And so rather than when they come to the face-to-face bit, that being the first time they encounter a new model, people get a chance to have a look at a short video. And the longest I think is about 3 minutes, but basically they'll get to see the video, they can replay it. I also sort of sneakily in some of the joining instructions put in that they may get some extra points if they remember some of the stuff in the pre-work as well. And so there's some stuff to read. There's sometimes if it's an in-house one, we get them collaborating beforehand as well. So depending on what the aims for the team are, as well, we might get them to perhaps come up with a challenge or actually identify something that they want to work on as well and come up with some tough challenges that they've got that we can work on as well. And so although it may seem like it's an off-the-shelf thing, it's always bespoke, it's always something new, but it's basically taking people through needs analysis, design, delivery, and evaluation, and showing them and demonstrating how that all links up. And making it really obvious, but we're not always explicit in that because of the game that we play in the middle of the workshop. There is an implication that it's all joined up, and so people really start to get that. I meet an awful lot of L&D professionals who are great at the design and delivery, but are a bit sketchy on how to do that analysis and evaluation bit and how to tie all of that in. And so it really gives people
learning loop comes from, because you literally
yes,
have
it
a game with
does.
a loop.
Yeah, it is. It's an infinity loop. It was my son's idea actually. I was trying to think of a symbol for the game actually, and he came up with that infinity loop. I thought that is just perfect. That is just really what it should be like, really. So yeah, so people get the survey. We also put people into groups, and we try to balance the groups so that we've got somebody who's experienced with somebody less experienced, somebody who's confident with somebody who's less confident, and so on, as much as we can. And then the 2 days face to face, it's pure joy for me and any of my associate facilitators, really, because we have such great fun. We don't tend to do an icebreaker. We tend to do sort of like normal human interaction at the beginning, you know.
Hang on, because loads and loads of trainers and programs, they do the icebreaker of two truths and a lie. If you were a chocolate, what would you be? I know there's millions of different ones, and some can be absolutely brilliant and amazing. So you don't do icebreakers, but you do human connections. What's that all about?
Well, it's a bit like if I came to your house, Joe, and there were a few other people at a dinner party, I doubt very much whether you'd pause and go, "Come on, everybody, let's do an icebreaker," because the thing that it would immediately do is actually any rapport that you've built, it would just completely damage it. And I must say, I'm not against completely icebreakers if they're relevant and if they're not embarrassing, then I'm for them. But what we found, and this is what I want to share I suppose with people, is that what we found is that just giving that little bit of extra time, and I'm not talking about hours, but 10-15 minutes at the beginning, where you introduce everybody to each other, and in a natural sort of way you tell them to get a coffee, you say, can you go up and have a look at the brown wall? And our brown wall is where we might have objectives, we might have some of their tough challenges they want to put up there. There might be something for them to add to it. Have a look around the room because some of the answers to the questions might be there. So it's all very relaxed and it's sort of natural. And I say, well, if you don't know anybody, please do say hello. You'll get plenty of time to speak during the breaks and the activities and so. So there's not that built anticipation of, oh my goodness, what am I going to say when I introduce myself, because I'm absolutely rubbish at doing that and I hate it with a vengeance. So I think it's because of the way that I felt quite uncomfortable doing it. It sort of made me think, well, why do we have to do it, and why don't we just be natural about it? What do we do in our homes and when we welcome people? And as I say, people do settle in very, very quickly. So, have a go, see if it works.
It really sets the tone and the scene for the whole of that 2 days and the approach that you take, I guess.
It does, yeah, I think it does, and I think the approach is very much facilitated. So, whereas maybe, and I struggle to call it train the trainer because it's not really, because it's not just for trainers. You know, if you're a trainer, you'll benefit from it, but if you're a L&D professional, an L&D manager, a subject matter expert, you'll also get something out of it. But traditionally, you'll get somebody who's very experienced talking about how to be a good trainer or facilitator, and it's very, very much facilitated. And so it's very much about the participants are at the centre of it, and they are guided and led. We have the game, which is in four sort of phases, and we play that in bursts of 30 to 40 minutes over the 2 days. So, although it's called the learning loop and there's a game in it, it's not the whole thing, but it provides a very good focus for, right, let's introduce this phase, which is learning needs analysis. And so they spin a spinner, they move their tokens round, they turn over a question, which I've put in the order that I want them to be answered. But still, you know, people like to get points, and I don't tell them exactly how many points they're going to get. They can get a maximum of 5 points, and they get quite competitive. And we've got buzzers, all that sort of stuff, and it makes for a very interesting and engaging way to introduce a topic, you know, rather than it being me presenting on any one of those phases. People get to tell me already what they know. And again, that sort of provides some good knowledge for me then to see how they're going to be, because it's almost like a needs analysis in itself. I'm checking to see how much they already know, because they filled in a survey, but then I get to see how much they really know. So it's good. It's good. And they get to practice stuff. They get to do stuff very quickly, design stuff very quickly. I set them challenges. I do scour pound shops now and again and find some odd articles, and I'll sort of challenge people to design a review activity around something that I bought in 10 minutes, and usually they look like startled rabbits
Okay.
caught in headlights, but everybody manages to design something in actually just 2 or 3 minutes, and then they are ironing out the details in the rest of the time. And so people get from it not just a sense of the whole of the learning cycle, they also get a sense of how can you facilitate more and be less trainer-like and actually be easier on yourself as well. So design faster. Yeah. So design faster, and also make it more engaging and more interesting for you as the deliverer. Because I know a lot of trainers, where if they do come, say, oh, we're fed up of delivering it in the same old way. I've been doing this topic for years. And so they get opportunities to design things really, really quickly, you know, and very easily. And I know there's lots of companies out there that sell great, you know, training resources, but if you just want to design something really, really quickly, we can show you how to do that. We've got a number of techniques that we use as well. So I love it. I absolutely love it. And then by the end, they're all buzzing, and we get them. There's an exercise we call Le Grand Review, and there's a bit of history behind this, because the year that we designed, I didn't design it. It was one of my associates, Karen Foundling. She designed it, and it was when we were having the Tour de France coming through Yorkshire, and it was called Le Grand Départ, and so we call this Le Grand Review, and it's a great way of actually just making sense of all of these models and placing them on where they belong in the learning loop, because by the end of 2 days you can feel pretty much, your head might feel like minestrone soup, and you're wondering really where the pasta should go and where the carrot should go and all the rest of it. And so this exercise is a bit like sorting all of that soup out, and people really enjoy that part of it, that sort of making sense. And again, we make time for that making sense, and for people to feel okay about having a lot of information, but also okay that they know what it's for as well.
And it really helps them sort it out in their head and feel like they've come away and learned something, I'm assuming.
Yes, yeah. So it's a really important part that you'll get people who go, oh yeah, it was great, it was fantastic, and then you come away and you go, well, what have you learned? And you just go, oh, I don't know, there was so much of it. And so we give them that opportunity to really reflect on that and sort it out, not just in their heads, but physically. We have some like some card. Neon coloured card with all the different models on it, and they have to sort these out and arrange them and stuff. And so it really does, help them to make sense of it. And then that's not the end. After the 2-day workshop, for 4 weeks afterwards, they get a weekly review. And so there'll be some materials that will supplement what they already have covered. There'll be some new stuff as well. If they can think of something for that particular phase that we're sending stuff for that they would like resources for, then I'll have a look at them. They get photos, they get pictures of themselves during the event as well. So it's quite a rich learning experience. Are you getting a better sense of it now,
I
Joe?
get a much better sense of it because I think what I see with your website, your slides, anything you do on Twitter and LinkedIn, obviously there's your amazing artwork, and you've got some examples of that behind you, and your style of drawing, which is lovely. But and obviously, I know you, and I know that would have carried on into Learning Loop. But I've got a much better sense now of just like there's going to be stuff all over the walls, it's going to be really interactive, it's not you standing and delivering, which whilst you do stand and deliver really well, I've seen that so many times, the fact that actually you do take that step back and it's for everybody to get involved and discuss and all of that group work, and you've got a game in there as well. I just didn't realise that level of detail.
There's an awful lot in it. And I keep, every time we have a discussion on social media about gamification, I get a little bit tetchy because I just think, well, gamification isn't just for sort of like electronic stuff. Gamification is a process of making something into a game so that you can give adults rewards, basically, and unexpected rewards. This was from some CIPD research a few years ago. Unexpected rewards will engage adult learners much better than if they know exactly what they're getting. So yeah, it's a rich experience. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ramble on a little bit about it,
Oh,
Joe.
never ramble. It's always a delight chatting to you and finding out a little bit more.
Oh, well, that's great. But you were telling me also, Joe, about this new community that you're launching, and I'm just curious, really, because there are communities out there. So what made you feel that you should launch a community?
That's a really good question, and it's one I thought long and hard about because, as you say, there are some really good communities out there doing some good stuff already, and but none of those that I'm aware of really specifically focus on the virtual classroom and webinar stuff, the design, delivery, platforms, trips and tips and tricks, all of that stuff. And those that do are quite, there's a Facebook group that does really well, and stuff like that, but there's nothing that's kind of really open, really free, and concentrates on those things in very specifically. So the other communities that I'm part of are much more broad, and they're brilliant, and I love them, and I love being involved in them. But I wanted one that was around the topics that I focus on. So that it's there for people who need some support but can't afford something, that's there for people who perhaps have been on my programs and want to keep in touch with other people who do similar learning, to share successes. That's always really nice. We always go somewhere where we have problems, but also
Yeah.
the idea is kind of like, I did this today and it worked really well, and here's an idea for you guys to use, and be able to learn and develop with each other. And we always learn better together and in communities. And I just thought it was really important to have a place that was specifically for the virtual classroom and webinar development parts.
Yeah, and I mean, you are a very sharing person anyway, Joe, because I think we were trying to discuss, weren't we, about how we met,
Yeah.
and neither of us could remember. And I think it was online somewhere or other, but I think it was, we were discussing different platforms for webinars and things,
Yeah.
weren't we? And I just remember how kind you were in playing around with different webinar platforms to sort of like see which ones worked for us and all the rest of it. And that was great. So you would do give an awful lot of stuff anyway. And so I'm just curious what you're going to get out of it and what other people are going to get out of it as well.
Well, what I hope people get out of it is a place to come and ask questions. If they need help and support, they can find it. But also, it's a place for them to find other stuff. So we're posting things from around the web that we find around virtual classrooms, around using your voice, around idioms or kind of colloquial language, all those kind of things to help people continue developing themselves. What I get out of it is, well, I love helping people, so that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And also it's building my network up. And anybody that asks me a question, I learn something from. So
Yeah.
when we were playing, you wanted specifically to be able to use your iPad, and it's like, well, we can fudge it this way in Adobe Connect there, and it doesn't work there. And if you get this device, it works this way. And then we found Zoom, which it just worked perfectly in, and that's what you stuck with.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know the answer to that. So part of me saying, yes, I'll help you is, I'd love to say it's completely altruistic, but there is
Yeah.
the argument that things never are. But also it's just like, well, I don't know, and I'm curious, and I want to know the
Yeah.
answer too.
I loved your session on body language. It was digital body language, was it, when that you were talking about at e-learning fusion? And there were lots of things that I learned from that actually that I never even thought of because you put in quite a few discussion points in there. And just from, I mean, I don't know why, but I didn't even think about emojis and all those little symbols we use and stuff, and how you get to know people who will tend to use those things. So those were great. I thought that was fantastic, a fantastic session, and I know you did a lot of research on that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, a huge amount of research. I read quite a few different proper research papers, the proper scientific ones, where I was kind of reading it and then going, what does that mean? How can I apply that? Let me go and get a dictionary and look things up, and then kind of you go off in a whole rabbit hole of research. And you're like, let's come back to the main one. But yeah, loads of stuff about face-to-face communication. There was stuff I was reading up about the virtual environments that are like virtual reality environments and like gaming, like, oh, I don't know these games. Is Half-Life a game? Something Life? Second Life, that's the one I'm thinking of. There you go. So my two gaming brothers now at this point are just hanging their heads in shame.
Oh,
No, all sorts of different things about relationships and communication online. And I
yeah.
feel like my community is a good example of that, as well as Skype messages, private DMs in Twitter or Facebook, whatever it
Mm,
might be. And of course, that extends out into a virtual working environment, as well as,
yeah.
you might be in the same building, but still sending emails to each other. And, when I go back to when I was teaching in college, which was quite a few a million years ago, I was teaching people to say, you never ever use a smiley in business formal communication because that is extremely unprofessional. And now, if you're
And
getting to
now,
know someone, that's actually much more acceptable now to put smileys and winking smileys in.
yes, yeah, it is.
I still haven't worked out what a picture of an aubergine means, other than we're having aubergine for lunch, but that bit I
Don't
don't
go
know.
there, Joe. I don't know what it means either, but somebody said it was rude. Don't go
Oh,
there. Don't go.
can we edit that bit out?
We can edit that bit out. Yeah, definitely. I don't know what it is either, but anyway.
Oh
So
God,
yeah,
I have to look that one up now. What does an aubergine
yeah,
mean?
you'll have to.
Yeah, I'm going to get loads of people
Yeah.
messaging me with aubergines, and I'm going to have no
It
idea what it
was.
means.
I think it was Andy Lancaster who whispered in my ear, "No, it's rude."
Oh
Yeah.
well,
Anyway.
he
Yeah. So what else? What else apart from this fantastic new community? What else have you got planned?
Well, the second part to the community, and this is another part of the kind of the what do I get out of it, but also what other people get out of it too. I have got a second stage, which is going to be a paid for version, and it's a subscription,
Yeah.
and it's a continuous professional development. area.
Okay.
So people quite often go on some kind of course or training program about
Mm.
webinars, virtual classrooms, design, delivery. Maybe it's the software, maybe it's the skills. And then after that, it's like, what do I do now? And we all know how important it is to continuously develop, to continuously learn. So there's the free community for that, and then the continuous professional development community. I'm going to run monthly webinars where people can come along and they can have a chat, you can learn together, you can say, well, look, I've made this new activity, can we have a practice of it? And we go, yeah, sure, let's all get involved.
Yeah.
And various bits of content from me which will only be in that CPD area, so a short video on how to do this or a checklist of how to do that and a technique for this, and still asking questions and all of those other things, but then that will be kind of on the same platform, but that would just be in a slightly separate group. But then people can use both of them, and the whole point is to build up this knowledge, this network of people. Certainly I have people saying to me, do you know a facilitator who can deliver this type of training, or a producer who can speak in such and such a language? And quite often I can help. But actually, how great would it be to have a huge number of individuals on this community and be able to go, hey guys, there's this opportunity for someone who speaks Spanish to do this. So, that would be
I love
great.
the idea that it's also a platform for practicing things on as well, because there are things that I've done in face to face, which I just think, oh gosh, I wonder how that would work. It works so well in face to. How do you adapt it? Because it's such a good activity. How do I adapt it to, a digital, larger audience? How would I actually do that? I think one of the things I did at the e-learning fusion, the memory card thing, that was adapted from a face-to-face thing, and it was then translated into a different sort of activity for a big group of people. It was 250 or something like that. But I can see how that, you see, I could use it online now, having done it on a PowerPoint. So I think that's a fabulous thing to try out, because what goes on in your head when you're designing something and what happens in practice, because things always take a little bit longer, don't they, when they're activities? And it's a good opportunity. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah,
Just
fantastic.
having that practice beforehand. So for Training Journal, every year we do a Training Journal virtual Christmas party, which I had
Oh,
great fun
yes.
putting together all sorts of online games. And in the last one, I did a particular activity, and it was only when I was running it, I went, oh, you know what? This isn't as good as it could have been. And it was okay, it was fine, we went through it, it was okay. But afterwards, I knew, it's like, had I done a run through with a practice group, I would have caught that.
Yes.
Because in my head,
Yeah.
it seemed fine. And when I talked it through, when I did a walkthrough, it was all fine. But with the real group, I realised, could have been so much better if I'd done it a different way round. So
Yeah.
it's things like that we often just need that bit of practice or confidence, and often there's only one of us in a team, or a team of one, or there's two or three of us in a team, but we just need that external help from somebody who knows what it is that we're doing and understands it. And it's brilliant to practice with your colleagues and really important, but sometimes you need that professional help to just go, oh yeah, I've done that, you just click here, here and here, or have you
Yeah.
doing this way? And other people
Yeah.
to say, oh, we have that problem too, and for you to go, oh, we're not alone. Isn't that good? So that's what I'm hoping that the free community and the CPD community that we launch later this year will be all about.
That sounds fabulous, Joe. I've learnt so much already. So brilliant.
Thank you
Great
very much. You've got
stuff.
me re-enthused about it all now. I can feel the grin on my face.
It is. It's got wider and wider as you've been talking, Joe. I can see it. It's yes, lovely, lovely to see. But
Well,
that's great.
it's been absolutely lovely chatting, and we'll have to do this
Yes,
again
and
sometime.
you. Yeah, yes.
Everybody, we look forward to your tweets and comments and thoughts and questions. And so, Christina, where can we find you out on the internet somewhere?
You can find me on www.howtoacceleratelearning.co.uk. I'm on Twitter at Christina Gadd. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very easy to find actually, because
Your name's quite an interesting spelling,
my
isn't it?
name's an interesting, because it's a K and not a CH, spelling. It's very easy to find. So Krystyna Gadd. If you look for me, you find me very easily. I'm very easy to find. I haven't found found another one. So yeah.
Oh, you're unique in more way than one.
Yes. Yes, fantastic.
Brilliant. And if you want to find me, it's at lightbulbmoment.info, and the community that I was talking about is lightbulbmoment.community, and you can find me on Twitter at lightbulbjoe or Joe Cook on LinkedIn. So thanks very much, Krys, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Always a pleasure.
Bye.